there's this false idea that there is a magic formula to great, effective leadership. Like, I meet a lot of people, and certainly this was the case for me. I read all the things, right? I listened to all the podcasts. I talked to everybody. I'm like, okay, if I can just do what Steve Jobs did, if I can just do what Elon Musk did, all of those kinds of things. And the fact of the matter is, we all have our own way of leading.
Welcome to Be Bold Brandy, where we discuss the power of differentiating yourself through your own unique story and standout personal brand. When it comes to leadership, most of you have no doubt had some bad experiences. And if you've had good ones, count yourself among the fortunate few. As entrepreneurs, it's critical that we understand what truly makes a great leader. That's why we invited today's guest, Brandy Ferrer. Brandy is an experienced leadership coach and consultant and best-selling author of 2 books on leadership. She's also the founder of Pathfinder Strategies, known for a holistic and customized approach. And she's also a BrandFace client. Let's get started and learn how she approaches leadership and how she feels about her BrandFace journey.
Brandy, welcome to Be Bold Branding.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Very excited about this, actually, because we know how important leadership is. It's just tantamount to success. But start with, if you will, give us a little bit of background of your life. Like, what led you up to doing this?
Yeah, so I grew up in a military family, and within my family, my mom was involved with human resources. Of course, this was 1,000 years ago, so it was called personnel back then. So I got to see a lot of the work that she was doing, and then kind of coupled with, growing up in this very top-down approach to leadership, and couple that with the fact that so much of my childhood was spent having to, we moved every 3 to 4 years. So there was a lot of adapting and a lot of resilience and a lot of learning all of the time. So I think that was sort of the combination of things that sort of got me interested in leadership to start.
Yeah, both your parents were in the Air Force, right?
Yeah, they both were.
Yeah, exactly. How do you feel like that impacted your leadership style? Like just watching not from the standpoint of your mom being in HR, but just from being in the military, in a military family?
Well, from what I could remember, from what I heard from my parents growing up, it was very authoritarian, very top down, and they complained a lot about it. And I just remember thinking okay, work sounds like it really sucks. Bosses sound terrible. And I didn't necessarily want to have that experience when I went into the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I know, Brandy, I want you to talk about your first experience in the workplace, because that first experience for you said you were impacted by actually great leadership in that position. Talk about that for a little bit, and then the shift when you went somewhere else. Take us a little bit on a career journey, because I think this really lays out the story and the path of where you are right now more than anything.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I started my sort of my first grown-up corporate gig, and I was working in mortgage lending at the time. And although I did not realize it, I was very, very fortunate, because I worked in a company where the leaders were very open-minded. It was very much a meritocracy. So, whoever had the best idea, that was the idea that got implemented. And it didn't matter how old you were. It didn't matter how long you had been with the company. And there was a lot of communication and support. And I was very driven and ambitious, and that was welcomed. So the culture was fantastic. The leaders were great. They really believed in bring the talented people in, let the talented people do their thing, and we'll support you. Unfortunately, when the housing market collapsed, for us, that was 2007, at this point in time, I'm like, work is great. I don't know what people are talking about. Like, this is fantastic. And I knew I had to go into a different industry. So I'm like, well, I had been involved at that point with training and development specifically for our sales team and more sort of technical training. I'm like, you know what? I can just go be a corporate trainer. Like, that's totally fine. It'll be a blast. So I ended up going to work for a public school district running their professional development function. And what a total slap in the face in terms of the culture, right? And in terms of the leadership. So I went from a culture that defined great leadership as, quick decision making and listening to the smart people that you hired and just getting stuff done. So that was sort of what great leadership looked like there. In the public school setting, great leadership was way more about patience and navigating politics and the bureaucracy. And it was really a challenge for me. And I began to see then not only the cultural component, but what an impact great leadership versus not so great leadership makes. When I was working in mortgage lending, I couldn't wait to go to work every day. I was excited. I was creative. I got to be at my best. And that was true not just for me, but for everyone that worked in that organization. In the school district setting, it was very much like, oh, not feeling so hot today. Like, any reason that I could think of to not go to work. We were not, and as a whole, we were not engaged. We weren't committed to our work. We weren't passionate about what we did because we weren't being supported in that way. And so that's when I kind of decided, I'm like, you know what? I've seen the impacts of great leadership. I've seen the impacts of not so great leadership, both on business results and on culture. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this. This doesn't have to be really hard and complicated. I think I can actually make an impact and help organizations accomplish great leadership.
Mm-hmm. I gotta say, Brandy, from being a small business owner all my life, 30 something years now, I don't know how small entrepreneurship grows without it.
Yeah.
Like what you provide is so important. You have to have, when you go from wearing all the hats and now you start to hire people and hand them hats to wear, and you have to find that person that can wear 4 of the 10 hats. And now you only have to wear 6. And then teaching them how to teach somebody to wear 2 of those hats. So now they're only wearing 2. Those things, they separate the men and the boys, if you allow the pun. It really does. I think that it's very valuable what you provide in this teaching, because you need those people in those seats to take on that leadership.
Yeah.
And really, drink the Kool-Aid, if you will. And so one of your books is called Spark, right? How Great Leaders Start. So is that a good segue to tell us that? Am I on the right path with that thought process?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the reasons that I wanted to write Spark was because, well, actually a few reasons. Number one, a lot of us don't come to leadership intentionally. I talk to leaders all the time who are accidental leaders. And I think your point about, starting off as a solo entrepreneur and then growing your business, we don't necessarily start that journey, be like, yes, I'm going to be this great leader. We're like, how do we get a sale? How do we get the lights on? Those kinds of things. So often it's the case that we come to it accidentally. That's part of it. And then the other part of it is that there's this false idea that there is a magic formula to great, effective leadership. Like, I meet a lot of people, and certainly this was the case for me. I read all the things, right? I listened to all the podcasts. I talked to everybody. I'm like, okay, if I can just do what Steve Jobs did, if I can just do what Elon Musk did, all of those kinds of things. And the fact of the matter is, we all have our own way of leading. So it was those 2 things that I wanted to focus on, like giving leaders this foundation of confidence, helping them recognize their strengths, and then be able to build a team and build relationships around that. So it doesn't feel so scary to let go. So we can kind of shed that I'm the person wearing 14 hats kind of identity and move into that CEO or that leadership identity.
Like what you're hearing? Hit that subscribe button and learn how you can change how you're seen and charge what you're worth.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I love
Mhm.
what you called it, an identity, the 14 hats identity, because with so many of us, including myself, I had to work hard to get through this. That was my identity. It's like, I can do all this, right?
Yep.
But as a leader, you're never going to grow doing it all. And that's pretty
Right.
much a given for anybody listening. That's not rocket science. I'm just throwing it out there because I lived through it, right?
Mhm.
And it is an identity, and it is something that you have to get past. But I love one of the quotes that you gave us as we were working together. It's, what gets you promoted doesn't always make you successful. Give us some insight into that.
Yeah. So certainly I've experienced it. And in 12 years of consulting, I've seen this with clients over and over again. We get good at our jobs as, wearing the 14 hats as an entrepreneur, or in a corporate setting, we get good at our individual contributor work. And oftentimes those are the things that help us grow, right? Those are the things that get us promoted. And then we get to this next level and we're like, oh crap, I don't know what to do now. I don't know how to make this identity be successful. So we tend to hold on to the old things, right? Well, I knew how to do all those task level things. I knew how to run the back end of my website. So I'm going to hold on to that stuff because I already know that I'm good at it. And in doing that, it's the opportunity cost, right? So we're holding on to old stuff. We're not sort of shedding the things we need to shed. So we can't successfully step into that role. That skill set, though, and that mindset and that identity, we don't talk about that a lot. We're like, oh, you're great at sales. You're going to be an awesome sales manager.
Right. Like they correlate. Yeah.
Yes.
They don't.
I think
They don't. Right.
it's brilliant because, and I'm a case in point. Okay. I was great in sales when I was in the radio world, right? I was in media sales for 18 years and I was really good at sales. And I was asked a few times, hey, do you want to be a sales manager? And immediately said, nope, I don't. Look, I'm not great at babysitting. Okay. I'm just not. I'm really, really good at doing my own thing out there in my own space, and I'll play ball. I'll be a team player. But if I'm responsible for someone else, heck, I can barely be responsible for me. So no, I knew my weakness at that point, or I knew, let's put it this way, I knew what I didn't want to do. And I think that realization, that awareness is really important in leadership.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I was sort of the opposite. I never sort of the same. I never really wanted to lead. I'm sort of an independent guy, and I just thought, well, I'll have this business, and I'll have people that work inside the business. And I didn't realize until after I went through the BrandFace program and met Tanya and all of that, that's really where my space was. And I grew into what I really love to do, and didn't even realize for 20 years that I would even think that I would like it at all. And, growing a business and being responsible for employees and responsible for uplifting people and trying to empower them where they sit and help them bloom where they're planted and all those things that are cliches, but so real. And then, lo and behold, I could have been doing this for 30 years, not 10 or 12 now, but right. You don't know till you get out there. And,
Absolutely. And, I appreciate that you use the word responsibility. I like to use the word impact, because that's what you're doing. You're having this tremendous impact, and leaders are uniquely positioned to be able to do that, more so than just about anybody else in our life, with the possible exception of our significant others.
Yeah, well said. I like that.
I do too. I do too. All right. So now let's segue just a little bit, Brandy, into your branding journey. Why did you come into the BrandFace program?
Yeah, I came into the BrandFace program because I knew I needed something to better clarify the work that I did. So, if you Google like leadership development or leadership consulting, you'll come up with just an obscene amount of results. So I wanted to speak to the unique and important work that we're doing in a way that would resonate with people. And I had to have help. I to really uncover what that was. I knew it internally, intrinsically, but man, it was really hard for me to like have a conversation with somebody at a networking event and explain it succinctly. So it just so happened that Tanya, you entered my life at exactly the right moment. The other thing too that I think was lacking for me was I had a website, and then I had LinkedIn, and then I had Facebook, and then I had this over here, and nothing matched. Nothing was consistent. So if somebody met me through LinkedIn and then they went to my website, they're like, is this right? I don't know. Yeah. So definitely getting a little more clarity and consistency.
Oh, I love that. You know, we always like to say when somebody meets your brand, because 98% of people will actually meet your brand before they meet you. But when they meet your brand on any platform, anywhere, the one of two things happen. Either clarity or confusion, right? And so we're in the clarity camp now. This is awesome. So yeah, and that is something a lot of very accomplished people run into, Brandy. It's a very common thing. It's like, okay, I've got all these things that I'm doing. I'm an author, you know, I'm guesting on podcasts, I'm speaking, I'm a consultant or coach, and I've got all these things going on. Now, how do I harness all that and express exactly that one thing that sets me apart from everybody that is also in that space and dealing with the same ideal customer?
Mm-hmm. What did you have any concerns about coming into the program?
Not really. I mean, this was one of those things that had been on my mind for a while. Like, you need to do this. You need to, you need to invest in yourself. You need to invest in your marketing and help your sales and all of that. So I didn't really have any concerns. I mean, obviously, anytime, like, we've never met face to face. So, but that's post-COVID world. But no, I didn't have any qualms or doubts. I really appreciated talking with Tanya right away, and then going through the process. The team was so responsive and so helpful, and really heard me, really listened and heard, and that was helpful.
Oh, that's good to hear.
It is good to hear.
What was the hardest part of the journey for you?
I think the hardest part of the journey was sitting down and actually answering the questions and getting really, really clear. Because I think with a lot, especially for entrepreneurs, and sort of the earlier stages, we're like, oh yeah, I can do that. Sure. Yeah. Bring it on. And then we miss the thing that's special about the work that we do. So like really getting focused and committed to that, I think that was challenging in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It gets a little tougher before it gets easier, doesn't it?
Yeah. That clarification. I mean, it takes a lot of concentration, it does to find that good, clear path that you want to promote the most. And what was most eye-opening for you during the program?
So I can tell you the exact moment. It was when Tanya sent over the first round of my updated bio, my speaker bio. And I just thought, okay, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've never been able to capture the essence of my background and why I do what I do in such a valuable, important, and succinct way. So as soon as I read that, I'm like, I'm all in. I'm going to do whatever they tell me to do. I'm going to do it because these people know what they're talking about.
That's awesome. Well, I got to hand it to our team. It's not, thank goodness, it's not just me. We have a whole team of people that really dig in and really help to clarify all of that. And it's a big deal. It really is a big deal, because that is like how many interviews over the years we've done like this one, and we consistently hear that part. It's that setting me apart and really bringing all this together in a concise way that they've just struggled with sometimes for years. They've struggled with exactly how to do that. But, it's just like coming to you. I might be struggling at being a leader among my team, and I'm not seeing, I don't know what I don't know. right? And I don't have all the leadership experience that you do. What we have experience in is branding. And I think it's a hard part, because when you talk about personal branding, a lot of people want to think that they can do it all themselves. It's like, it's me, it's my story, I should be able to do this. And then they get mad that they can't, right?
Yeah.
But that is very, very common.
It is. My grandpa used to say all the time, you can't beat a man at his own game. And it took me a while to really like understand what he meant by that, right? If you do something every day, then you have nuances to it that other people just don't have. We just got off of a whitewater rafting trip of the Golly River, and we are pretty experienced whitewater rafters and kayakers, and growing that experience every day. But we will never be as good as those guys and girls that do that 2 and 3 times a day, every day. They will never know a river as well as them. We'll never know lines and reeds as well as them, and levels and stuff. It's something comes with doing what you do every day. And just like you in leadership training, and the need for that, you do that every day. And we just needed to be able to let everybody else know in a concise way why they would pick you over everybody else that might do that every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How has your brand already helped you?
Well, I will tell you that I feel so much more confident in messaging at all levels. So I was at 2 conferences in September, and I felt very clear. I launched a program pretty early on in our working together. And just going through some of these exercises really helped me, like, okay, here's who we're targeting, and here's what they're going to get, and why is this important, and why is this special? So there's definitely like an inner confidence, and then there's an outer clarity. And I think that outer clarity cultivates confidence in others. So when you can talk clearly about, hey, this is the benefit to you, and this is what we do that's special and unique. I think that helps people understand what they're going to get and why they should work with you.
And helps people know that you understand them, right? It's like you said, I felt listened to, I felt heard. I felt heard throughout this process. And when you can clearly communicate how you help people become better leaders, that is not only the confidence that's internal. We also like to say a great brand doesn't just change the way others see you, it changes the way you see yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it begins right there. And that's the first awakening, I think, for a lot of people. It's like, wow, I didn't realize how maybe a little discombobulated I was over here, but how good this feels now that it's all dialed in. And that projects to what everybody else sees and feels about you, which in turn always helps sales. There's no question about it. It has to, right?
Yeah, I would say that, in addition to that inner clarity and that outer or inner confidence and outer clarity, sales doesn't feel like sales to me, right? Sales feels like, oh, cool, I get to talk to someone, and I get to talk about how maybe I can help them, and I get to listen to their journey and figure out how we can connect. That is amazing. And it's showing up in sales as well. So it's not just like, woo, this feels great. Like, I'm actually seeing it in my business.
That's wonderful. And that's a game changer, isn't it? And, it's really not sales anymore. It's really just, hey, are we a fit, and can we work together? And that's so much more easy and relaxing. And then you attract these people that have the need that you provide. And then the symmetry is just so much better. And then the work experience is so much better, and their end product is so much better. And it just continues to grow from that. So that's really good to hear. Really good.
What would you say to somebody else who is kind of on the fence thinking, okay, should I do this BrandFace thing? What would you say to those people?
I would say get off the fence and do it. I would say it's probably one of the best investments that I've made in business in my 12 years. It's not only like the messaging part of it, but you guys are really great. It's the whole package. So it wasn't just, oh, cool, I have this great bio now. It's like, oh no, I have this entire package of things that all go together. They all fit together. And man, we're in a world where there's so much content and there's so much stuff to have that is it's hugely important from a business perspective.
Oh, it sure is.
It is. And this is just the beginning, because, we hopefully you'll be right along with us. We want to be with you during the whole journey. We'll get into profit alignment and things like that. This is just the beginning. We'll have a whole lot of fun together, reaching your ideal customers. So
love it.
Yeah.
Brandy, tell the audience how they can get in touch with you if they're looking to up their leadership game, to launch their leadership. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. So you can absolutely check us out on the website, which is pathfinder-strategies.com. Check me out on LinkedIn. Again, Pathfinder Strategies, and then Brandy Ferrer is my personal LinkedIn as well. So yeah, I'd love to connect with everyone in your audience and hear more about people's journey. And as always, if there's anything that I can do to support people in their journey, I absolutely want to be a part of that.
Thank you so much, Brandy. It has been such an honor and a pleasure to work with you. I can't say enough great things about how smooth this journey was. And thank you very much for trusting in us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. Appreciate you.
Ready to change how you're seen and charge what you're worth? If you're not getting enough opportunities to meet with ideal customers, or the prospects you're meeting with just aren't ideal, it's most likely your brand that's holding you back. So if you're a coach, consultant, or expert who is on the rise, you need our ultimate guide to a freedom-based brand. Download it free now at brandfaceguide.com.